Hello there, welcome to the mechanical and technical mesh patterns. First of all, thanks for purchasing these patterns. A lot of work is being put on this. I would like to begin and show you some very helpful tips for these patterns. As all of my other patterns, you are welcome to check the link and see my other patterns. Anyway, so let's get started. I'm just making a layer, clicking it here, going into the pattern overlay, and you can reset to default and check the patterns. So the patterns begin from this guy, which is, if you stay above it, it's number 1 circles mesh, and it has 3 variations. This one is further more apart, and this one even more. Okay, so let's see the scaling. The best quality for the scale is if you go to 100, then to half resolution of 100, which is 50. This will be a good resampling, downsampling actually. Then 25. These 3 values, 100, 50 and 25, are the best for the quality, because if you go like here, it will get blurry and not so clear. So let's say we want smaller than 25. Maybe we are happy with this. Maybe the situation doesn't need more quality, but if we want more quality, we will go more quality for smaller file sizes, smaller dimensions. So if we want smaller, we will go here to 25, make a big document as this, go to 25 and then right click, rasterize layer style, because otherwise it will keep the scaling of Photoshop patterns algorithm. Anyway, so right now I have rasterized the pattern. I am on a big document like this, and I go to image size, and I want, if we want 12.5%, we'll go half this resolution. The link of the height and width is clicked, and you can play with these algorithms. Each has its own character. In most cases I like bilinear because it's very sharp. So let's say we want 12.5%, so this is 25% the pattern, and we go 540 here. This right now, what you see here, is a very clean quality, and if you want even more quality, we'll go to filter, sharpen, smart sharpen. You can play with these values, but usually in small sizes. You can see now before and after, very sharp, very clean. Okay, so that was tip number 1. Tip number 1 for scaling to smaller sizes. Let's go back. Okay, the next most important thing is how we make this pattern transparent. I have included for every pattern, it's matte, but we need to make some adjustments. Right here I have close the background. We'll double click here, we'll go to blending options, remove the fill opacity, and right now we have the matte of the previous pattern of this, for example. So you can't see it now, but this is matte. So in order to make holes, we will right click the matte, rasterize layer style, either rasterize, either convert to smart object. It's the same, but smart object gives you more advantages. Anyway, the result is here. We want to hold Control and click the layer thumbnail, and right now we have selected the matte. So now if we go to this pattern and hold Alt and click the layer mask, right now this pattern has become transparent, and this is the way to make holes. As you will see, I have included every opaque pattern, every pattern that is opaque, like this for example. We can go in here, change the pattern overlay to this, but let's not do it so confusing. We'll make a new layer, fill it, I will remove the fill opacity, pattern overlay, and I have chosen these patterns, the matte. Right click, rasterize layer style, and we have this guy. So this is number 2 tip. Let's see, with Control click or Command, I think on Macintosh, Control and click the layer thumbnail, we select the selection of the matte. Right now if we click this, it has created holes inside. But let's say you want the opposite example. You can click the layer mask, not the layer mask, and go to sorry, I think image, adjustments, invert, or Control I. And right now we have the opposite. You might want that. Anyway, let's say we don't want that. We want this. Let's see the other tip, which is how to make the matte larger or smaller. Let's see this. Control click the layer mask, Control clicking the thumbnail of the layer mask. We have selected the pixels. Now if we go select, modify, expand by 4 pixels, and right now it has go inwards. And to not make it complicated, I will delete the layer mask and click the layer mask there, invert it with Control I, and right now, as you can see, we have reduced the size of the matte inwards. In some cases you might want this, so let's see again. This is the matte, but it's the outer. So if we want the pattern to be even thinner, we'll go contract by 2, let's say. Oops, sorry, the opposite. I hold Alt, just click this. Okay, right now it's even thinner. Let's see why I have included these 4 layers on the bottom, which are noises. Let's use 100. Let's go to 100% scale. Okay, So we have different types of noises. Why I have included this? Because right now this pattern with the layer mask, which is like this, transparent, it shows through the noise. So if we go and group this pattern, drag it here, the group, double click the group, and this is for, I think, Photoshop CS6 or above, I don't remember. But if you cannot add layer style to groups, you can just right click this, rasterize layer style. But let's make it in group, it's the same thing. So I group the pattern with transparent opacity. I will go to blending options, which is layer styles, and I will add a drop shadow like this. We are making it custom, more realistic. If we want this example, you might want to change the lighting. You might even want to add bevel and emboss in the pattern with your lighting condition situation. Okay, you can do many things with this. Let's see another example. For example, this one, which is bigger and smaller. This pattern in particular, I've seen this pattern in some kind of fire box for fire, you know, with a fire extinguisher in it, and behind it, it was something like this. And I am using Photoshop CC 2015, which you can add as many drop shadows and some more. Here you can hit the plus button and add more, which is very awesome. I hoped you could do this with everything, with pattern overlay, with bevel and emboss, but anyway. So okay, we're done with this tip. Okay, let's go now to tip 3, making the patterns more realistic. I will leave it like that. So I will convert this to smart object. We just have this pattern with drop shadow. Okay, how to make them more realistic? You can, like this, or either make it group and put layer styles on it, like this. We'll add a pattern overlay, a dirty pattern overlay. I have created some of my own patterns. Actually, we won't do it like this. We'll make a new layer, fill it, double click, and go to pattern overlay. We'll choose a dirty pattern. I have this dirty pattern, which I think is very nice for adding realism. Perhaps you cannot see it very clearly now with this compression of the video, but it adds lots of realism. And that was just one pattern. I will use a different dirt pattern, something like this, which is again made from a rock, just made it black and white and increased the contrast. Okay, let's see this on vivid light perhaps, and reduce the fill opacity. Maybe put these two on a group and reduce the opacity. Okay, this is one way with dirty textures. The other way to make it a little more realistic is to add a vignette. So you go to gradient overlay, you choose, actually we reset to default, choose a black and white and go to radial, reverse, scale it up and choose multiply. Like this. Maybe you want a background, you know, it looks more dramatic rather than the dirty textures. Okay, with the dirty textures it becomes dirtier but more realistic. If you want this example, one of my favorites is this one, which is transparent, and I remove the noise background. Like that, we put it on a group, Control G, double click, oh sorry, drop shadow of course. This is one of my favorites. Very, I don't know, very cool. Anyway, some tips for the tubes. Let's reset the default. These guys here, which they have horizontal and vertical, also without the black and kind of chrome here. And let's see how we can make them like real cables. I will have to remove the fill opacity and I will right click, rasterize layer style. Right now we have many cables. Let's get some and let's see how we can make them real cables. Anyway, so there are two or more ways to distort this cable. You can either go to edit, free transform, and then go in here, which is the warp, which has this. Maybe a good thing to do is make these smart objects first, because they will keep their warp settings. So Control T, right click here, go into warp. Maybe you want a cable like this, circular one, bend it. Okay, let's see if it has anything else here, because maybe something like this. Okay, let's see a different example. Go to edit, puppet warp, and this is again for later versions of Photoshop. Warp. Let's see, we can hit Control H or Command H. We can see in real time the warping, so we won't make anything like this. Okay, something like this. and we have two cables which we can add bevel and emboss to mimic the lighting. Maybe you want lighting from below. Like this, depending on your use of the cables. Okay, you might want to add some color corrections to each pattern. Might even want to add some realistic, like make it more realistic and stuff like that. This is just a random example, which this car has this pattern overlay, which is this one. Anyway, let's see this one, for example. And this is just one example for some use of this. The best example for the car is some of this, because I was inspired by some car patterns for this, and I have included quite a few of them. This is my favorite. It's very dark. Like this. This is like a window grill. I'm sure you have seen this many times before. Of course, this is like futuristic ground walls or something texture. This is like from planet Mars, or from Aliens, you know. This is a classic pattern. Some more tubes without cables. This one, which I was inspired by a laptop. The laptop had this pattern in it, and I was very inspired. I liked it very much. I'm sure you can find many uses for any of these patterns. Which are inspired from real examples. So with that being said, I hope you liked the video. I hope you enjoy the patterns, and thank you very much for your support. Anything you want, you can message me for anything. Thanks again, and have a nice time creating nice stuff. Take care, bye.